Welcome to Prospecting on Purpose. I am thrilled to have our next guest on the air. David Newman is a professional services sales expert who works with leading consultants, coaches, and speakers who want to land better clients, bigger deals, and higher fees. David is the author of the #1 business bestseller, Do It Marketing. He's the creator of the Do It MBA mentorship. David is the host of the highly rated podcast, The Selling Show, and he is also the author of a book that we are going to talk about today called Do It Selling. David, welcome to Prospecting on Purpose.
Thank you, Sarah. It's great to be here.
I'm so excited for our conversation today because I think a lot of what you talk about in your podcast with your clients, in the book, it's all around confidence in selling and giving people the tools to feel confident in their sales efforts. And I think that's why you're a perfect guest for our audience. So maybe let's just start a little bit about your journey and how you found yourself as a sales guru.
Sure. Well, probably the least likely sales guru. And it's funny because I think a lot of our colleagues in the world of sales coaching, sales training, like I'm the last person that I would ever thought would end up in sales. So I had a 10-year corporate career as working for big consulting firms, management consulting, technology consulting. 2002, I go out on my own and I figure, I know how to speak, I know how to coach, I know how to train. How hard can it be? And Sarah, I found out how hard it can be because I had no idea. I had no idea about marketing and sales or any of the stuff that we're going to talk about today. I thought that, hey, I'm great at doing the work. And it's not about, when you're an entrepreneur, of course, it's not about doing the work, it's about selling the work. So I immediately knew that I was totally hopeless in this. And I went out and I hired a sales coach. And this was a great sales coach, and he's still a friend to this day. And it was a coaching deal. And then also he had like a once a month in-person class where all of his local clients went. So I go to the first in-person class. And the topic happened to be prospecting. So he starts talking, very first words out of his mouth. So you're talking to a prospect, and it's really important that, and then the music sort of comes up, and we get the blurry camera fade, and I'm already lost. And what I felt like internally was raising my hand and going, excuse me, sir, these prospects of which you speak, how do you find them? So you're assuming I'm already talking to a prospect and I have no idea how to even get a conversation going. So that's where we started, my friend. That's where we started. Like I hit every brick wall, every dead end. I made all the mistakes in the sales and prospecting book. I probably made the good ones twice because they were so much fun. But eventually I figured some things out. I read a ton of books. I went to a bunch of classes, like I said, the sales coaching, the sales training. And at that time, a lot of the sales coaching and sales training, it was either aimed at like a local business, a lot of roofers, a lot of plumbers, a lot of people in the product business, water purification systems, all kinds of stuff like this. And some of it I felt didn't really fit. So, you have these big sales training franchises. You have Sandler, you have Miller Hyman, you have spin selling. Exactly. I couldn't really embrace completely all of this. So I sort of put my own playbook together and I started closing some big deals with some big Fortune 500 companies selling training contracts. And then my friends and my peers, other consultants, other trainers would say, hey, David, can I pick your brain? Can we have breakfast? Can we have coffee? Can we have drinks? I would love to find out how you're doing all of this. And so I'm sitting down with these folks and I have no problem, breakfast, lunch, coffee, because there were good people asking good questions. And another consultant friend of mine, who also is still a friend to this day, he just stops this was a breakfast. So we're eating bacon and eggs. And he throws his fork down mid bacon and eggs. And he says, you are so good at this. You should do this for a living. This is about 5 years into my journey here. And I said, do what for a living? Eat breakfast with people? He goes, no. Teach people what you know about how to get these big Fortune 500 corporate contracts. And Sarah, I laughed at him. What I said was, that's a ridiculous idea. people like you and me, the solo entrepreneurs, the small business people, they're broke, they're hopeless. Thanks, but no thanks. I'm going back and I'm going to keep selling my big contracts. And I don't want clients who are small solo business owners, independent, service professionals, whatever. Finally, he said, listen, I want you to teach me what you have. I will pay you money. What's it going to cost me to hire you as a coach? And because I had just been selling $10, $20, $30,000 deals, I'd never dealt with a one-on-one person. I said, well, I appreciate the offer, but I have no idea. I said, how much do you charge your clients? He says, $125 an hour. So I said, great, I'll coach you for $125 an hour. And that was the seed. That was the beginning of the version 0.1 of where we are today.
Well, I think about, David, like all the different challenges that you were describing along that journey, not knowing who a prospect is, or how do you get to them, or how do you open the door, or your friend saying, how are you doing this? And having to kind of source things yourself. I mean, I think that that's unanimous across the board. Like everyone in whatever they do in their roles has to be selling in some type of form factor. I think that's what I find interesting about sales is everyone has to do it because all of business is influencing others. And that's really what sales is, but making sure you do it from a place of authenticity and genuine care. And I think where people get nervous about sales is they don't want to seem salesy and icky, and they shy away from it. So I would love to learn from you what eventually got you over the fear of selling. What clicked for you there when you started to figure out your contracts? Like what was there a couple, there's probably a couple things we could talk about, but what was maybe the moment that you figured it out?
I think there is a big adversarial assumption in the world of sales, still to this day. Right? Because think about the words that we use when we talk about sales. We talk about targets. We talk about prospects. We talk about being in a target-rich environment when you're speaking at a conference or you're at a networking group. Yeah. So we got to qualify, we got to filter, we got to fish where the fish are, we got to catch the fish, reel them in the boat, kill the fish,
Hunters,
eat the fish.
Farmers, kill the elephant.
Exactly.
Oh, man, I'm guilty of using
right.
all those words.
So all of these terms that assume that there is a either predatory or adversarial relationship, I had to let all of that go. Because number one, it took my prospecting activity down to zero because I just chose not to engage in that messy, goofy, toxic type of dynamic. So, by the way, zero prospecting is not a good strategy, just for folks listening.
I'm pretty sure there's a quote in David's book that says, no customers equals no business.
And no bueno is the final touch on that. But it's funny because as far as the whole I'm out to get them, I got to close them, all of this kind of high pressure. And sometimes we put it on ourselves, right? And I realized, okay, my main job is to convey two and only two things in everything that I do. Online, offline, in-person, networking, sales, initial prospect conversations, phone calls, Zoom calls, everything. Two things I have to get across. Number one, I understand what you're going through, or through questioning, right? Through questioning and smart questioning, I can diagnose, I can figure out, and I totally resonate with what you're going through. That's job number one. Job number two, I can fix it, or I can help. So if you take the pressure off, I got to close them. I got to put them on my sales process, got to move the ball forward, got to gain commitment, got to, do all this crazy stuff. If you let that fall away and you realize that your only two jobs in marketing and sales and business development is with every fiber of your being, every post, every blog, every phone call, every introduction, every referral, get across the idea that number one, I understand, or I'm committed to understand what you're going through. And number two, I can fix it. People immediately resonate with that come from. And I have found that you can have the world's best sales script, and I'm very much against scripting. I'm very much for preparation and structure, but I'm against scripting. And the reason I'm against scripting is because scripting, you can have the world's most perfect script. If your come from is, I got to close the sale, I got to close the sale.
Yeah.
It's hungry, it's desperate, it's sales breath. It's like,
Transactional. Yeah.
exactly. It's transactional. It's a dog going after red meat. The world's best sales script will not save you. If you have a messy, disorganized, out of sequence sales conversation, but the person can feel that you are there with caring, concern, curiosity, genuine desire to help them, even if it's a genuine desire just to help them see their problem more clearly, even before getting involved in solving it. It doesn't matter how much you stutter and blubber and screw up your lines and forget stuff that you wanted to say and forget stuff that you wanted to ask, but your come from, because people are smart. People have this invisible radar that a person with a flawless script and a hostile come from is never going to do as well as somebody with a genuine come from, and the script might be goofy or non-existent or scrambled or mixed up. And I'm not saying that you should be sloppy with your sales conversations or not intentional with your communications, because those are all very important things to be. But the come from has to come first. And when I realized, to answer your question, that my come from is way more important than my technique, and here was the turning point, and I think people listening will be able to relate to this. I've had fantastic sales conversations, fantastic sales conversations where the prospect ends up telling me, wow, David, you are a really good salesperson. And they didn't buy because my technique was showing. Then I had sales conversations where people bought almost effortlessly, and no one complimented me on my sales skills, because if they ever compliment you on your sales skills, that's almost the kiss of death. That, like, you are being techniquey, you are being artificial. They feel that something is being done to them, and like, oh, you're really a good technician, but I'm not going to buy. It's the invisible sale that's based on genuine trust, rapport, respect, and a genuine sense that this person wants them to do better, and that buying will help you do better than not buying, right? When that's communicated, that's in the prospect's mind. That's nothing that the seller sets up the environment for that transformation to happen in the buyer's mind. But that sale happens in the buyer's mind. We don't do it to them. We can't force that. We simply set the environment where that can happen more easily.
I call it the acronym I use. I say ABAV, always be adding value. And that's to any person you interact with, anyone, because prospecting happens everywhere. It happens on the chairlift when you're skiing. It happens, like, I got a lead the other day at my apartment community pool. And it came after I was adding value to the person. And so I think that we have to be on and have these, your comment on the techniques, like, people's BS meter is finely tuned. But if you come from a place of how can I add value, you're always going to set the stage for success, because I like how you phrased it, David, making the other person feel comfortable, making sure they're safe in their mind, that they're not being sold to. This person wants to help me. And that might mean they don't buy from you because maybe you don't have the right solution, but people sense that.
Yeah.
What are some of the biggest...
Another important piece of prospecting dialogue that I talk about in the Do It Selling book is this conditional language. So, for example, if you and I, Sara, are having a conversation, I might say, whether this ends up being a good fit for us to work together or not, the or not opens the door, right? It's like a pressure valve that opens up. When I'm adding value in initial prospecting conversation, I might say, listen, Sara, this might be the very last time that we ever speak to each other one-on-one. The gap that I see in your business is number one, number two, and number three. If you could fix those three
Mm-hmm.
things,
That's
either
good.
with my help, with someone else's help, or on your own. So now I'm saying with my help, with someone else's help, or
Mm.
on your own, right? So at every opportunity, I am adding value and I'm releasing pressure. I am making this a safe buying environment. People, like you said, people's BS meter is set to like supersonic.
Yeah.
And I also think that this concept of buyer safety, where people don't feel they're being pressured, they don't feel they're being manipulated. And when I say, listen, genuinely, these are the three areas that I see you need to fix, I can help you fix them, someone else can help you fix them, or you can just fix them on your own. Most people go, oh my gosh, he's diagnosed this so precisely and he's pinpointed these three areas that were totally blind spots for me. Why would I hire anybody else? I mean, and
Totally.
also people are lazy, busy, and befuddled. So if they're talking to Sara Murray and Sara Murray has presented
There's
herself
your
as the
solution.
obvious
Yeah.
choice,
Yeah.
the shortest path between me and results is hire Sara.
Totally. And was something that you said really stuck out to me too, David, is the buyer safety concept's really interesting. But I also think if you add the or not as the seller, you kind of relax a bit yourself too. Okay, I don't need to go into pricing. I don't need to go into pitches. I'm just asking questions, identifying areas that I can potentially support. And I actually had this yesterday with a client that I've been working with, and I love working with them, and we want to extend the contract. And I started out by saying, I'm not ready to talk numbers today because I don't know what you need. And it made me relax too. And it was just a conversation. But now I see the areas that we can continue to work together. And it's such a different consultative conversation versus buyer seller, transactional ickiness. And I think that's what we have to help undo in a lot of people's brains is help
Yeah.
them realize this is just a conversation and we're just trying to add value. Because if you're coming with desperation, if you're coming with a need to hit a number, people will smell it. It's not going to be fun for either party.
And I'm sure you've had this conversation when it comes to prospecting. I know I've got clients that I've worked with for years, and they say, well, David, I have a brand new meeting on my calendar next Wednesday. Do I go in and pitch A or B or C? And I just look in the screen now because remember, they're a longtime client. And I go, I'm sorry, could you repeat the question? Yeah, I have a sales meeting on Wednesday. Do I pitch? And they go, oh, that's right. We don't pitch anything. We don't pitch any. I go in unarmed. It's like, yeah, you go in unarmed. You go in with the caring, the concern, the curiosity, the questions, the questioning plan. One of the other things I talk about in the Do It Selling book is you have to look at this like a courtroom attorney getting ready for a cross-examination, where you just have all of these facts that you need to find out before you're ready to argue in any way, shape, or form. Right? You can't, buy my solution. It's like, no, I need to find out about what's going on with you. What's going on with your team? What's going on with your company? What's going on with your revenue? What's going on with your whatever it is that we're trying to solve? And I've got 17 different questions before I'm ready to quote unquote pitch anything. And when people, so let's say that they've binged all your content, they've listened to every Sara Murray podcast episode, and they show up on the call and they say, Sara, you don't need to pitch me. I'm in. Sign me up for your XYZ program. Even when people are just kind of laying down their credit card, I will often say, I appreciate that so much. That is a huge compliment. Thank you. But I got to be brutally frank with you. We're not there yet.
Yeah.
And so I will slow down the sales process, even when someone is basically saying, hey, Newman, here's my credit card, just take my money, let's go. I genuinely don't know if they're a good fit, if I can help them move the needle, if I can help them get the results that they want. So sometimes that's the other magic phrase. When someone's 2/3 of the way through a sales conversation and they say, Sara, send me a proposal, this sounds perfect, we have a $50,000 budget, we're ready to go. The magic phrase that I will often pull out, and I recommend my clients often pull out, is, thank you, I really appreciate that. That's clearly a positive green light sign from you. but we're not there yet. We're not there yet. Do you mind if I just ask you a couple more questions about your exact situation and goals? And when you slow the process down, do you think trust goes up with that prospect or trust goes down? I will tell you,
Yeah.
trust goes up 100% of the
Well,
time.
and that's exactly as you're talking through it and the questioning. A big part of this process is building trust because a lot of times it's not just in any B2B environment for the most part, and B2C too. It's not just usually a one person decision making piece. Like
Amen.
oftentimes, especially if you're in a role where there's a lot of different decision makers with different organizations, you need to gain the trust to get to the next part of the selling process. And my background was in the architectural and construction market. So maybe I'd have a meeting with the architect, but I really want a meeting with the end user who's going to sign the check. But that architect isn't going to introduce me to their client unless they trust me. And if you go in with, I call it product vomit, you're just dumping a
Yes.
bunch of product, you're talking numbers, that trust doesn't ever get built and they're never going to put you in front of their client. Or maybe there's the boss that has to get sign in, or you need other different departments or decision makers. The big part of the beginning of the sales process is, do they like you? Do they trust you? Like getting over those hurdles. And I think that
Yeah.
takes a lot of pressure off when it's just, hey, I just need this person to see I add value, see I care, and see that I'm trustworthy. And
Yes.
then we can start talking numbers. But to your earlier point, usually when the number time comes, it's like, well, why wouldn't I work with David? He knows everything about me. He knows my pain point.
Right.
So it becomes very organic. The closing, if you do the beginning part right, the closing is very easy.
Oh my gosh, absolutely right. And so I think this is something important where people say, oh man, I'm having all these great meetings and I'm having all of these great, my pipeline is stronger than ever. I'm just not closing deals. I must have a closing problem.
Mm,
99% of the time, Sara, in my experience, it's not actually a closing problem. It's an opening problem, right? It's the way that they started the conversation, or it could be in the middle part, but it's not. But good prospects will close themselves.
right.
After doing thousands and thousands and thousands of sales calls, I can personally attest good clients will close themselves. You don't have a closing problem. You have a,
Yeah.
premature
Prospecting
premature
problem. Yeah.
discovery,
Yeah.
immature discovery. You didn't ask the right things, you didn't reflect the right things, you didn't surface the issues behind the issues or the problems behind the problems. Yes, it sounds like you have a great pipeline and a great series of conversations. Failure to close is usually the diagnostic issue, is
Yeah.
usually much earlier in the sales process than you think.
Well, and that's, I got to tell you too, David, when I started my business, the reason the podcast is named Prospecting on Purpose is because a lot of times when things go bad at the end, just like what you're saying, it was the beginning that went poorly. And
Yes.
I think what is challenging for people to wrap their heads around is some of the beginning stuff in the prospecting process is around relationships. And I think people think they need to have all these hard skills like negotiating and confidence in having crucial conversations. But if you're good at the beginning part, and it's really just like being a real human, like take the
Yes.
salesmanship out of it, just be real, be cool, and the rest becomes easier. But what I really liked about your book, some of the language that you're giving us in the book, you have a lot of very cool, very specific tactics, very specific language to use. One thing that I really liked that I'm going to start to deploy in my own business is the be unignorable. And you had some really interesting tactics on how to approach prospecting from a space where they can't really ignore you. So, would you mind
Right.
sharing some of these tips with the audience?
Sure. So a lot of times we prospect one-on-one. So you have targeted a single prospect, a single decision maker who has some sort of logical title, C-suite executive, VP level person, and you realize or you've come to think that this is your person. And you said a moment ago, and I agree, that most complex sales and most high dollar sales these days in the B2B world, there's multiple decision makers, there's multiple people involved. So the strategy that you're talking about is don't target one decision maker, target three. And when you target three, you tell each one that you've also sent emails or voicemails or whatever it is you're doing to the other two. So, Sara, if you're the CEO, I will send you my initial communication. and say, hey, Sara, I saw that you just got promoted. I saw that you just got a new round of funding, blah, 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 blah. Here's how we've helped clients like you in this exact situation. By the way, I've also copied Deborah and Sam separately because I know they're probably involved in this also. Would it make sense for us to put our heads together and have a conversation? So now Sara gets this note saying, oh my gosh, he's already contacted Deborah. He's already contacted Sam. So I'm going to get on Slack and I'm going to say, hey, Deborah, Sam, did this David Newman character contact you? Yeah, I got the same note. Should we spend 5 minutes talking about this at our next team meeting? Yeah, let's definitely. And so now I'm unignorable because I've made myself a pain in the butt, joking, of course.
Yeah.
But I've made myself a topic of conversation between 3 top executives individually. So here's why Sara or Deb or the other one, they're not going to say no right out of the gate because one of the other 2 might actually want this.
I know. That's why I think it's so brilliant, David. Because the other thing that I think is really interesting is standing out in people's inboxes is really hard. I know
Yes.
because I delete anyone I don't know. I usually just delete it without even reading it. So you triple your chances of somebody actually reading your email if you send
Also
it to 3 different
true.
people.
Yes.
I think it's really, really clever. What type of results have you seen from that?
Definitely get a bump in their response rate.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's the response from the main person that you would expect. It's funny because sometimes the decision making, and this is kind of an evergreen sales problem, the decision maker doesn't have the title, and the title is not your decision maker, no matter how experienced and seasoned you are. And so, oh, I'm so glad that you sent that to me because actually that's my department. Maybe you usually sell to CMOs, to chief marketing officers, but you also looped in the chief operating officer. And this is the chief operating officer's number 1 priority for the next 12 months. And you didn't know that going in, but you got lucky because you hit on 3 or 4 people instead of just 1.
We can't make assumptions. And I think that's a big culprit I see in the work that I do is people are out here making assumptions. And I feel like it's just something I, for the most part, don't do from a young age. So it's just a good habit I learned, but I didn't realize it was a good habit until I started to unpack a bad habit in others. But I had this meeting once where my very first client in my company that I started, my consulting firm, and we were going to pitch to this guy who had a certain title. And I told the 2 founders ahead of time, they didn't know how to do sales. So that's why they brought me in. I said, guys, I know someone who uses the product. I asked them what they liked about it. And she sent me this whole long list of things she likes. So I'm going to open the meeting and just let him know. No, Sara, he won't care about this. He's a product guy. He won't care. And I was like, you just need to trust me. This is what you like. Just trust me. Just watch. And so I started the conversation. I said, hey, prospect, I got to tell you, one of my friends uses your product, uses your app. And here's what she told me. And I read the text verbatim to him. And you could just see the energy shift. And he got so excited because it turns out all the things that she was talking about in the app that she liked, those were his brainchild. Like those are his ideas before he took on the VP of product management role. And it totally shifted. I was getting texts from both founders like, you were right. You were right. But the whole point is you just can't assume. And having to navigate people's organizational structure and decision-making, that's too much time that we don't have. So I love this strategy because it's a really creative way to respect all the decision makers, spread a wider net, and triple your response rate opportunities. It's brilliant.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. Well, use it in good health.
Thank you. The other thing I really liked in the book was this concept of around selling to the top.
Yes.
And so I want to talk a little bit about that. What does that mean to you?
Sure. So it means a couple of things. Most people say sell high, sell as high as you can. If it's in the C-suite, go to the CEO. If it's a VP level, go to your SVPs, go to your EVPs, sell to the highest job title. That's true, but I also encourage people to sell to the best of the best in their target market. So one of my little mantras that's in that same section of the book is the best of the best are the ones who invest. And this is about the laggards, the average performers, and then the elite high performers. if you're selling any sort of B2B significant, 5-figure, 6-figure, 7-figure type deals, 8-figure deals in some cases, you might think that the market leading prospects, they already have this taken care of. They don't need your little solution. They don't need your little software. They don't need your little thing that you do. And what you fail to understand is that the very best companies, how did they get to be the alpha dogs and the leaders in their market? They did it by investing in their people, in their process, in their technology, by investing in consultants, by investing in the best service and product providers. So these people, they respond to messaging that sounds like this: move ahead, stay ahead, and get ahead even faster, right? So these are already the number one, number two, number three players in any given target market. When you speak this language of ambition instead of the language of struggle or, kind of just getting back up the ladder that the C players and the B players might be wrestling with, you unleash a premium value proposition. You get the attention of the decision makers who are at the very top of that decision-making ladder. And you also position yourself as a premium provider, because obviously only a premium provider would call on the market leading company about a significant problem. So it's funny, I actually just posted a LinkedIn article about talking about champagne problems and how strugglers have problems, average mid performers have problems, and the elite folks also have problems. A lot of times we sell to the strugglers. We sell to the people that say, oh man, these people really need what I do. They're in terrible shape. Even if we move the needle 20% for them, it's going to be a heck of a lot better than they're doing now. And you fail to realize that strugglers don't invest, right? It's the elite people that respond to the champagne problems, otherwise known as first world problems, right? Or elite problems. Those problems are just as important, sometimes more important and more urgent, because the A players can't afford to have any part of their operation operate at a B or a C level.
They got to defend the hill that they're on.
Exactly.
They're at the top of the hill, and how do you defend the hill?
And they know that there's some little upstart, lean innovation company nipping at their heels about to eat their lunch. And so when you talk about get ahead, stay ahead, move ahead faster, right? That's the generic sort of message framework around this. They respond. And you will get more meetings with bigger and better companies for bigger, juicier opportunities. And those people might be harder to initially get in with, but man, they buy much faster and they might buy much bigger once you do get in.
No, I love this, David, because I think I was doing it without realizing. And when I look at my client mix now, it is innovators in their space. It is the best of the best. And I honestly just didn't put those two things together. And my background is always selling luxury. It's always been selling the best in class. I would never want to sell the cheapest thing, because who wants to race to the bottom on price? That's not a fun way to sell. You have to sell value. You have to sell business model. That's what makes for like trusting consultative partnerships. And just reading that in your book, the best of the best are the ones who invest, clicked a lot of dots for me. And I think your other point of confidence, if you're reaching out to these A players in the industry, it does say something about you. And especially I'm selling salesmanship and sales programs. I can't be afraid to reach out to sometimes it's nerve-wracking, but like it just kind of proves like this is part of what I'm going to teach your people how to do. Be confident in selling to the top, whether they have a title, whether it doesn't matter. If you're adding value, that's how you do it. And I thought that was really powerful. A couple other things I want to pick your brain on while I have you is, what are some habits that top performing sales professionals emulate?
I think one thing, especially in light of our theme here around prospecting, is put fresh targets on your radar daily. Daily. And, sometimes we're managing a pipeline. Sometimes it's a long, complex sale. Sometimes you're on step 17 with one prospect and you're in step 32 with another. And we neglect to put fresh prospects into our pipeline daily because tomorrow's step 17 started out as today's step 1. So how much are you refilling and refreshing your pipeline? I think that's really, really important. Another one of those 7 is to express gratitude. Express gratitude to your team, express gratitude to your colleagues, express gratitude to your current clients, express gratitude to your past clients. Sometimes people say, well, you have to meditate and you have to be grateful kind of in your own office, just sitting in your chair. That's nice, but unexpressed gratitude, I think, is also unrealized revenue. So
I
when
love
you
that.
send a thank you note, when you send a thank you text, when you comment on something on someone's LinkedIn, it is totally par for the course where they might ping you right back and go, Sara, it is so funny that you sent this text today. We were just talking about our sales team. You and I should have a chat. Hey, I saw your very sweet comment on my LinkedIn post. Long time no chat. And by the way, we're fine, but I was just talking to someone that I need to introduce you to. And so every single opportunity to express gratitude, and don't just make it up. People have genuine gratitude for genuinely good people in your world.
Sincerity is key.
It has to be sincere. It has to be authentic. But unexpressed gratitude is unrealized revenue.
I love that because I think a lot of times that leans into the ABAV, always be adding value. And I think people sometimes view that as non-revenue generating activity, but it's just the opposite. So I like your language there. It just untapped revenue. And you're right. I saw someone had a new job the other day on LinkedIn and I sent her a note. I said, oh, I didn't realize. Congratulations. Wishing you the best of luck in your new role. And she wrote back to me, we need to talk. My team needs your help. I'm like, great. But that's not why I sent her the note. And I think we just always need to be in this space of a discipline of gratitude. I love that.
Yes, absolutely.
So the book is Do It Selling, and it was very digestible. It was very tactical. I really appreciated all the different tips that I learned. I love the be unignorable. I think that was brilliant, and just go right to the top. I think those are my 2 big takeaways. You have another book coming out. Will you share with us what's your upcoming book about?
I absolutely will. Thank you for asking. So my next book, which is book number 4, is called Market Eminence. And market eminence is all about a combination of visibility and credibility and brand preference that CEOs and founders and salespeople can use to elevate their own personal brand to grow their revenue and to grow their company. It's about, we talk about selling to the top and the best of the best are the ones who invest. This is sort of the flip side of that. This is how can you and your company be perceived as the best and rise head and shoulders above all the other same-o, lame-o, look-alike competitors that you may have.
Well, and especially with selling in the new age of AI, being a human and proving that you're a real human is going to be one of the biggest values that we offer. So I love,
absolutely.
Can't wait to read it, David. Before I ask you where people can find you, is there anything I didn't ask you that you want to make sure you leave the audience with?
I think sort of just a fortune cookie philosophy of selling in a nutshell is that sales is the transference of enthusiasm. And if you can get excited about your prospects, if you can get excited about your products and services, if you can get excited about helping people improve their results in their business and their life, with their team, with their company, with their parenting, with their finances, with their retirement plan, whatever it is that you're selling, that enthusiasm and that authenticity, that come from that I talked about earlier, you work on that and everything else will improve. Absolutely guarantee it.
I love how you articulated that. I think that's something that's been working for me my whole career, but I didn't realize I didn't have the language to it. Sales is the transfer of enthusiasm. Love it. Because you're solving problems and you're excited about solving their problems because you're someone of service. So,
Yes.
David, where can people find you if they want to learn more, if they want to read the book, if they want to listen to the podcast?
Sure. So all the goodies are on my website, which is doitmarketing.com. And I'll point out two additional quick resources there. If you go to doitmarketing.com/hello, there's all kinds of ungated content. You don't need to opt in. There's videos, there's downloads, there's PDFs, there's interviews, there's tools and cheat sheets there. And then we do have some free online training also, which is at doitmarketing.com/webinar.
Love it. I will link that all in the show notes for our audience. Thank you so much for being a guest on Prospecting on Purpose.
Thank you, Sarah. This was fun.